The butterfly is many things. It can be the scariest part of your Tyrannosaurus safari, the mark of a classy lady, when in the form of a tattoo on her lower back, or a signal that YouTube has another Benchmade Griptilian review taking up server space. I decided to buy the Benchmade 551, better known as the Griptilian, because I had used a gateway knife in the form of a Ganzo G739, which I reviewed some time back. That was a $15 blade, and this is about $100, unless of course you trick someone into buying it for you. They have the same basic shape and blade length and the thumb stud, and they both have that access lock thing. That one has black nail polish or paint or whatever on the blade, and this doesn't. The Ganzo has a G10 handle with different patterns, and the 551 has a FRN handle on it. 551, what do the cool kids say? But let's take a closer look at the 551. Is it worth it? The Benchmade 551 is a general purpose folding pocket knife that comes with quite a few blade and handle variations, but I decided to stick with the basics. Mine has the orange FRN handle and a straight edge drop point with 154 cm blade steel. So let's go over the basic dimensions and wait so the graphics department can spend another 45 minutes telling you what you can just read on Benchmade's website. And for what it's worth, the Ganzo is heavier than the Benchmade. A lot has to do with the minimalist partial liner in the Benchmade versus the full liner in the Ganzo. For EDC, I like a blade somewhere in the 3 to 3.5 inch blade, and this is that, so there you have it. The satin blade looks nice and is a hollow grind, and it's razor sharp out of the box. One of the sharpest out of the box I've ever tested. And you're like, you don't own a lot of knives, do you, bro? Huh? Shut up. So the deployment is super nice and gives you a few options if you want to show off while someone holds your beer. You can do the satisfying thumb deployment, which is as satisfying as it is obnoxiously loud to someone sitting next to you while they're trying to watch television. You can release the lock and it falls forward, allowing you to close it with one hand easily, or you can do the advanced knife bro move of hold the access lock studs with your fingers and flicking the wrist, letting go of the lock as you flick. As to a logical reason as why you do it this way, well, you'll have to make up one yourself. Anyway, the lock is an axis lock, which is pretty easy to disengage, but can be made stiff sometimes if you flick your wrist too hard. The axis lock on the Benchmade feels smoother and is much easier to disengage than the Ganzo. And it allows you to do the trick where you can flip it open if you hold it, whereas the Ganzo it's a lot harder to do. The black clip is reversible to either side of the knife, but you can only carry it tip up. The clip is not a tight hold on your pocket, so make sure you watch out if you're hanging upside down from the monkey bars while pocket carrying the blade. This looks to be attributable to the mount where the clip is affixed to the handle being slightly raised. The Ganzo, by contrast, does not have a raised mount, so it tears the shit out of your pocket. You may want to remove the clip and do some bending if you want a more secure hold on the Benchmade clip. As far as the handle goes, I'm more of a G10 guy than a plastic guy or FRN or GFN or GSN or GPS or whatever you call it. You can get the Benchmade in a G10, but not the color or price I want. Sorry, but G10 isn't worth the $70 price point when I can get it in a $15 knife. Again, unless someone else buys it for you. Then it's cool. The handle is nice, but it isn't as comfortable as the Endura. The Endura's handle is thinner and longer, but there's a bit more girth to the Benchmade. Plus, the Benchmade is ribbed, too. Oh, sorry. Jimped. I got carried away for a second. I prefer better knife handle ergonomics than ridges or jimping, but that's a personal opinion, and realistically, unless you're building a YouTube shelter out of logs in your backyard, then it's not that big of a deal. I'm a person who uses their knife several times a day in short bursts, none of which consist of stabbing live things or building fake shelters in my backyard. Okay, so what about that steel end? What about the part where I use the knife and talk about it? And you're like, can't you just play music instead? I mean, YouTube has a lot of music, right? I don't know, let's build a mini fire with one of these ferro rods I have laying around for my Schrade knives. Like I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I really don't know what I'm doing, which is obvious, but I'm determined to get a blister, goddammit. The Benchmade's edge holds up well to a lot of abuse, whether it's just shaving some wood, or shaving some more wood, or also shaving some wood. I feel like it's a good way to spend an hour or two, right? None of this is really good for starting fires, though. It'd be great once you get a little flame started, but not good for real YouTube fire. Unfortunately, it rained the night before, so the grass that I'm using now isn't as dry as it should be, but I'll get a bit more flame from that. Anyway, the whole point of this is to get to know the knife and kill another minute or two. Now, I know it's obvious to you, but this isn't the most comfortable blade to do heavy duty cutting with. You're like, maybe you shouldn't be treating it like a 15-year-old who just got a new toy would. The jimping gave me a blister after striking the ferro rod about 100 times and shaving wood that's, I don't know, probably too hard to shave in the center. You're like, well, duh. Anyway, a nice fixed blade might be a bit better for long-term cutting. And one thing is for sure, after about 45 minutes of this, the blade is still razor sharp. It's like nothing to shave some arm hair off. You're like, ooh, that shot, cool. The steel holds up really well compared to just a few minutes with my Ganzo doing the same thing. Both edges touch up well on the sharp maker, but the 440C of the Ganzo will need regular maintenance much earlier than the Benchmade. You know, like everyone who uses 154 cm already knows. The Benchmade, while not really needing a sharpen, still was able to get slightly sharper with a little bit of work. Anyway, the Benchmade steel is no joke, but I feel the handle is a little too spiny in places for heavy duty use. I like my Endura handle a little bit better because it's smoother in the higher pressure areas. Anyway, as far as to which knife of the Ganzo or the Benchmade I prefer, that goes to the Benchmade for the blade steel and the smoother deployment. I know it's a big difference going between $15 to $100, but it is a nicer knife. I feel like it should be priced a bit more competitively to the Endura line since it's in that category of blade, and I'll make that change as soon as I'm in charge of marketing or finance or the whole company at Benchmade. Cool. And hey, again, I paid $15 for the Ganzo and I paid $100 for the Benchmade, and I don't feel bad about it. So if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out all the other videos I've done in the past year or 2 years, leave me a comment, like my video, tell people about my videos, and go outside and play with your knife instead of watching YouTube videos. Because when you think about it, sometimes they're kind of lame.